Hello, welcome to Rich Fit and Happy. I am so excited to have someone that I met recently at the A4M conference in Las Vegas at the A4M Longevity Conference. I met one of my favorite authors. She wrote Sexual Soulmates. Her name is Susan Bratton, and I'm so excited about this conversation. I've been thinking about it for the last several days. And here she is. Hello, Susan. Thank you.
Hi, Crystal. Yeah, it was so funny. I walked by you and I was magnetized by you. And
Oh,
I just walked up to you and started talking to you and we just hit it off like fast friends. And
we
I
did.
so appreciated that
Okay.
about you. You're a real light and beautiful, totally
Oh,
gorgeous, hot, sexy,
thank you.
brainiac. So what's not to
Oh,
love?
thank you. And you have really great energy. And that was quite the conference, wasn't it?
Oh God, I ended up buying the conference tapes, if you will. God, that just dated me.
Right. I do that too. I do that too.
I bought the audios and the videos, and I had my team uh, transcribe everything and then feed it into AI. And I gave them a bunch of prompts, and I got an executive summary, action, key takeaways, actionable things you could do, um, all kinds of stuff from each one of the talks. And I've been one by one by one, and there were 40 of them because I couldn't get to all the sessions, and I practically wanted to get to every session in the agenda. And one by one, I've been writing them up and releasing them on my Substack, which is called Longevity Wins. It's my newest endeavor is that I had always integrated, with Better Lover, and that newsletter. I'd been writing about passionate lovemaking for 2 decades. And within Better Lover, I was always writing about health and anti-aging and longevity and mitochondrial function and all of these kinds of things,
Yeah.
hormone therapy,
Mhm.
etc. And I decided that I wanted to write so much more, but that the people who wanted to get my sexy sex ed content, not all of them wanted my longevity content. So I split it out and I launched Longevity Wins. And I launched it on Substack, which was interesting because I hadn't done that before. I've always run my own email servers because I'm in the sexuality niche. And so I can't just use software as service. I can't just write my stuff and send it out because the minute a company wants to go public, they're like, get the sex stuff off here. I get lumped in with, it's
Okay.
like I'm in a bad neighborhood, even though I'm teaching about passionate lovemaking. But with longevity, I could launch it on an existing SaaS, and it's been great. It's been growing like crazy. And I love the name of your show because you can't really be happy. You can't live the level of happiness without being fit.
It's true.
You don't have the internal resources or energy to be
Hmm.
as happy as someone who does movement, flexibility, balance, strength. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, you were joking with me about your age, and I'm not going to say your age, but you were joking before we started
Not a secret.
recording about your age and how you don't necessarily like to even think about yourself that way. And I'm the opposite. My goal for my 64th birthday is to deadlift my body weight. And so I have about 4 months. I just deadlifted 115 pounds, but I weigh 160 pounds.
Well, you're very tall.
I'm
You're
almost 6 feet tall. I'm
yes.
big
Yes.
and I'm muscly. That's literally muscle. And I told my trainer, I was like, I could drop 10 pounds if I need to. Like, I don't really stress over having like a little roll around my belly or whatever. I got giant boobs. I mean, if I lose some weight, they'll get smaller, and I take a lot of estrogen, which makes your boobs bigger.
It
So, I mean, I
does.
went from double D's to triple D's to G's as I was like, I want more estrogen. I want more estrogen. I want more estrogen.
I
And
learned that
so
recently too.
it's so funny how it makes your boobs bigger, but which is good because they don't sag when you age, when you're doing estrogen replacement. They're not as saggy even when they're big. But I said to my trainer, I could drop 10 pounds if we're getting close and I'm not quite, hitting the 160. I could get down to 150, so I could only have to lift 150. And he's like, you're not going to have any problem lifting 160 pounds. Don't worry. And I'm like, okay.
I'm impressed. Good
I
for you.
like to have goals like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to be fit to be to achieve the level of happiness, because happiness is a mood, and the moods take energy, they're emotional labor, positive or negative.
Mhm.
And if you have lower mitochondrial function, if you have less muscle, if you are more tired, because working out gives you energy, it literally
It,
gives you energy.
it
You
did.
actually have enough energy to really be happier.
Yeah.
And here's a really interesting thing, because I know you kind of like you're interested in hormones. The
Mhm.
hormone oxytocin is a very interesting hormone. When you're topping up your estrogen, your testosterone, and your estrogen, testosterone, and estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone,
Yeah.
also think about topping up your oxytocin.
Mhm.
Because here's an interesting thing about oxytocin. We know that it like bonds us to our baby when we breastfeed, or we create oxytocin when we have skin to skin contact with a lover, those kinds of things. But oxytocin requires you to have good gut bacteria, and the gut bacteria that helps produce oxytocin is something called Lactobacillus reuteri. And L. reuteri is very sensitive to antibiotics. And if you live in America today, it's likely that you've had to take antibiotics for one reason or another somewhere along the line. And that's likely killed off a lot of that bacteria, if not all of it. And so for many people, they're quite low in oxytocin. But you can reestablish your gut microbiome and take that Lactobacillus reuteri. You can take it in capsules, or I ferment it. I cultivate it in homemade yogurt, and then put that in my morning smoothie with my protein and my collagen and like a million things for my health. And I noticed that when I started reestablishing those colonies, I was generating oxytocin, and I was feeling love more deeply. I was
Mhm.
feeling awe of beauty and art and music and nature, and
That's
the things that are, what I would consider to be the jewels in the crown of a great life. I
Mhm.
was feeling them, so they were impacting my life in such a pleasurable way that I was like, wow, I used to be low on oxytocin and now I'm not, and I can
It
tell
is
that my
so
life is better.
it is so interesting that you just said that, and
Yeah,
fascinating. And it's something that I mean, I feel like that when we talk about hormones and what it can do for us, we need to go on a deeper level, because we actually get closer to source,
I agree.
God, or whatever
Yeah,
you call it. And that, what you just hit on, reminds me of that,
yeah,
because I have felt that too. So let me just ask you a couple of questions here, because I
yeah,
want to tie in and kind of merge two really hot topics, and they're always going to be hot topics, and that's sex and money, right?
yeah.
So you talk about,
Two
let's,
of my favorites. I think they might be my favorite, sex and money, Crystal. So you're asking the right person.
of course. So you talk about, use the words pussy power,
Yeah,
and sexual sovereignty. Do you
yeah.
want to expand on that? What does that mean? And how does that relate to success today?
Yes, 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 yes. Well, I think pussy power is a phrase that what it really means is that you leverage some of the extracurricular benefits of having great sex. And that can be great sex with yourself through solo pleasuring or through partnered play. So anything that I'm talking about when I say sex, I don't mean intercourse. That's just one tiny fragment of our sexuality. Our sexuality is our dance, our movement, how we feel in our bodies when we're strong and we feel like we look good in our clothing. And our sexuality is our flirting and our connection with other sexy women who are other
Yes.
goddesses, and we're connecting with each other and exalting each other's beauties and brains and capability.
And you know
Um,
what came to my mind right
yeah.
there? We were talking, is patience and being able
Mm,
to listen in
mm,
conversations. I'm
mhm.
not sure why I just threw that in there, but it's important
Yeah.
when you are connecting with people that you are actually engaged in, you present, being able to have an engaging conversation. And I see so many people getting away from that because of online, and that connection is lost. So I'm glad that you're mentioning that. So
One of the
important.
one of the phrases we say in California is holding space. Have you heard that term?
Yes, I
I
certainly
like
have.
I love that term. I think holding space for people is really, really nice. And so I think it's just a term that I think is really, it goes even beyond presence. Presence would mean that I'm just here with you and I'm connecting with you. But holding space is like another level of support. And it's that I'm holding you in my heart, that I care about you, that I
Mhm.
want the best for you, that I'll provide support as needed for you and your success in life, that we're connected together and we're on a journey of like collaborative, co-creative
Mhm.
art connection. And we felt that the very first time we met.
Mhm.
Like I'm on this podcast because we had an attraction to each other.
Yeah.
And I run a group called the Intimacy Alliance, and it's a business mastermind of sexperts like myself, people who are teaching passionate lovemaking, they're teaching kink, they're teaching non-monogamous, situations, they're um, teaching all sorts of things that are sexually empowering
Mhm.
for these next generations of us. And we hold space. And what we do when we get together every week is we focus on helping each other make money. Because when you are in my niche, it is very, very difficult to get traffic. And you can't make a lot of money if you don't have a lot of traffic. You can have offers, but if there's no traffic hitting your offers, whatever they are, you don't make money. And we are censored in our niche. And so we band together collaboratively and we lift each other up. It's a mixed gender alliance, but it's 90% women and 10% men because men tend to not be in our space as much because frankly men are so predatory in the general market that you almost all we've discussed some men out in the marketplace and one or another of us has been like, oh no, he doesn't know how to hold his boundaries around himself. Like he did some predatory bullshit and we can't have him in our group. Very interesting that even some of the sexperts that are famous out there who are men are like, nope. I supported him and he didn't support me back. He was a big fuck you to me. And I'm like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't bring him in. So interesting. But one of the things that I love about our group is that we get to give to each other. And that holding space, supporting each other in our growth. I love that part of our mastermind. But it was interesting recently, one of the women in our mastermind, she said, I want to have a section of each meeting that we have where we kind of can talk about like emotional issues around our business. And I said, oh, you are more than welcome to take us to offer that to everybody in this group to splinter off and do a separate group. But this meeting that I'm running is about making money. It's not an emotional processing platform. You can have an emotional processing platform elsewhere. And if everybody wants to follow you over there and do that too, or and even if I lose some people, and that's what they need right now, that is totally cool. But I've been in mastermind after mastermind after mastermind where if they have too much emotional processing, they fall apart. A
Interesting.
mastermind is to make money together. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing too. There's like, we're talking about holding space, we're talking about collaboration, but we're also talking about sometimes you just need to focus on getting stuff done. I need to be on this. I need to have help with this. I need this copywriting. I need this, I need you to mail for me. I've got too much inventory of this product. Can you guys help me move it? Hey, I've got too much inventory of this and I'm closing it out. Is anybody speaking and wants, 100 bags full of stuff? Like it's really a nice experience. So pussy power is
So it sounds kind of
this,
like masculine. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
it is masculine.
so when you're in business and you're making money, and sexual confidence comes to mind, and
Yeah.
women not having the sexual confidence. And let's go there. That
Yeah.
was kind of all over the place. But what I find myself doing is, you know, there's my dating world, and then there is my business world. And so I'm always trying to balance masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm confident with business, but I can really come, and I live in Naples. There's a lot of alpha males here. So I can
Okay.
come off as more masculine.
Uh-huh.
So can we talk about that?
Yeah, like I really don't even think about the masculine feminine anymore. I somewhat feel like polarity and that paradigm is a little dated,
Okay.
and that
So I'm,
I
I'm overthinking it, maybe?
no, I just think there's a new way to think about it, and that is that as we women have become more financially empowered and more sexually sovereign. Like we own our sexuality. We decide what we want. No one is the boss of us. It's consensual. There is no coercion. There is no more shaming. There is no more expectations. It's not just intercourse focused. You got to eat my pussy too. Like there's all these different expectations now that women have around equality, both in the business world and in the bedroom. And we don't want to put up with being forced into any kind of self-expression that isn't real for us. And I've been in business since high school, and I'm a rainmaker. I'm a deal doer. I'm a biz dever. I'm a salesperson. I like to make money because ultimately the reason that I like to generate revenue is that I can be more generous. I can take care of more people. I can
Mhm.
have a greater effect on things. And
Mhm.
so I have absolutely no issue doing deals, running the business, focusing on the revenue. That's what I do for both of my companies. I am the revenue generator. And I love that role because I like to create win-win business opportunities. At the same time, I also don't have any time in my day to work with anyone who isn't a values match with me, who isn't aligned with me in nature of being, you know, caring about all people, lifting people up, believing that everyone is equal and human and all of those kinds of things. And so I don't work with people who don't are not a values match with me. I put my attention where I have a values match. And then I also don't work with people who I feel I might trigger because of, I don't want to dim my light. I don't want to have to dial myself back because someone's going to get triggered. And that's particularly difficult for me, Crystal, in my niche because I'm talking about things that are very triggering for people when I talk about sexuality. But I like to do them in a way that makes people comfortable. Like, damn, I thought I was gonna be like super uncomfortable and embarrassed, but she actually made me feel a lot more confident about stuff because she's so comfortable with it all. It made me feel comfortable. And
Yes.
that is helpful. But I don't want to have to even think about whether I'm in my masculine or I'm in my feminine. I'm just in my Susan. I'm in my Susan. And that is whatever it's going to be. Sometimes I'm playful. Sometimes I wander around in lingerie. Sometimes I wander around in power suits. Sometimes I'm flirting and sometimes I'm negotiating deals. And I am all of those things all the time. And it's interesting too, because when I write about the masculine feminine dynamic in the sexuality area of my work, because I crank out a lot of content. I got a lot to say. I got a lot of opinions. And one of the things that I explain to people is it's really great to be in your feminine and be fully femininely self-expressed and to completely love that. It is also really great to be in your full masculine, running the bedroom game, taking charge with confidence, which comes with experience as you gain confidence. We don't see those models out in the world, but we have them within us and they can be developed. But that's just step one. Step two. Step three is becoming switchy, being as comfortable being in the feminine as the masculine. And then step four to me is the ultimate place we're all going. and that is to be in the flow state where you aren't even paying attention to what is masculine or feminine. Those feel like old models to you. The
Mhm.
new and this is how I am in my work. This is how I am everywhere, which is I'm just me everywhere I go because I don't care if you don't like me. I like me. And I am loved by so many who do. And I am not everybody's cup of tea. And I am cool with that. We're not a values match. You don't like me. I trigger you. What? Cool. You don't like the wrinkly skin on my chest, which is a comment that I've gotten on social media. And I'm like, well, who are you? What do you look like hiding behind whatever you're hiding behind, commenting about the skin? I like the sunshine. I'm a happy girl. I go swimming in the ocean every day. Like, you
That's
can't.
one of my favorite things to do.
Mine too. I love to jump through waves. I love to dive in the waves like a dolphin. I'm half dolphin.
It is so
And
invigorating.
I just really don't have any energy to show up to be what you need to be comfortable in your own lack of evolution. I'm just gonna be me, take me or leave me. And enough, and this is the interesting thing too about like when people talk about boundaries. If you don't hold your boundaries where they really are, if you try to like suppress and your boundaries get breached by people, that's your self-worth showing its sad side, where you didn't feel lovable enough and you felt like you had to do something for someone else rather than to ask for what you needed. And then you got hurt because you had a core wound around being lovable, about being who you are. And we got to work through that shit. And so I think just owning your boundaries, asking for what you want, giving selflessly, lots of love, letting go of the people who aren't for you, finding the people you have values matches with, living full out in all of your energy, your beauty, your joy, your wanting to make money together. Like, no,
Mhm.
those are all good things to me.
Yeah, money is freedom,
Yeah.
wisdom is freedom too, if you've
Yes,
done
it
the work
is.
on yourself. So
Yeah,
what I love about you and your energy and you just coming out and saying, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. This
I
is
don't.
who I am. I'm going to be who I am, who I
Yeah.
want to be. That gives people permission. There are
Yeah.
still women at our age that don't feel like they have permission.
Fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
It's changing fast.
Good, good,
Yeah.
good. So let's talk about that. So, in terms of high achieving women,
Yeah.
so
Love them.
many high achieving women, they struggle with balancing ambition and intimacy. So
Mm.
it correlates with a little bit with what I just said about the pivoting and
Yeah.
segueing. And so, what do you have to say about that? How can women tap into their sexuality without losing their drive and ambition?
The more you tap into your sexuality, the more drive and ambition you have. Sexuality is very rebooting of your nervous system. It generates a lot of oxytocin. It floods you with good, feel good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. You get you just get so many physical and emotional benefits from having orgasms.
Mhm.
Great sex is highly orgasmic and deeply heart connected to yourself or to your lover. And good sex is a practice. The reason that my brand is Better Lover is that we can understand how to procreate, but we were never taught female pleasure based sex education, especially everything that we see in porn, the movies, everything about sex is through the male gaze. And it's very repressing to women. So you have to learn skills. You have to learn your body. You have to orgasmically activate yourself. You have to orgasmically cross train. I like a lot of sex toys because they really help awaken all the neural pathways to your biggest sex organ, your brain, and they light up your system. They light you up orgasmically. And I wouldn't have sex without having tons of orgasms. Orgasms are all just learned skills. As a matter of fact, on my website, I literally just teach you how to have over 20 kinds of orgasms that all bodies can have. I don't even charge for it because it's very, very important to know that wherever you are in your sexuality, whatever your orgasmic response is now, those are just the neural pathways that you have so far. There's so many ways to have orgasms that you don't want to shortchange yourself from orgasmic ecstasy. And the more that you do it, the better you get, the more confident you get, the more you love your body and appreciate it, the less you have body image issues, the more you're able to flip into heart connection and pleasure and surrender to it, the better that does at washing out the stress, the cortisol. You know, oxytocin is kind of like the antidote to cortisol. So it's very, very good for you to generate a lot of oxytocin as well. So all of these things are just as important as eating lots of veggies, healthy foods, whole foods, and moving your body. Everybody talks about sleep, exercise, and nutrition, but sex is the the unspoken fourth leg of that solid table.
Mhm.
Because of the sexual repression we have in our society, people don't talk about it, and because nobody knows what they're doing because they haven't figured it out yet. And this is what I've dedicated my life to is expanding heart connection, orgasmic pleasure, and interestingly, you said connection to source, because that is another thing that sex gives you is a palpable connection to source. Even with your lover in a conjoined trance state of ecstasy, you can touch source together. She enters the room. This is why spiritual sexuality, tantric lovemaking, these kinds of things are so powerful because
I
they
think it's the
teach
closest
us.
thing to God when you can have really good sex with somebody, or
It
like you
is.
say yourself. It is. It's like walking through the gates of heaven. Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine it being any better. I'm sure it is when you finally get there, but
It
it
keeps
is.
getting better.
Yeah. And we were talking, I hadn't really meant to bring this up, but we were talking before I hit record about hormones, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how, there are a lot of younger women, they were saying that their estrogen levels are getting lower and lower.
Yeah.
So it could be because of our foods, we're not eating right.
Plastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more, not enough
Chemicals.
sexual experiences, and connection happening, and it's lowering estrogen, because I do know that it makes you happy, and all of
Mm.
those other hormones raise, and it makes you want to connect. So, um, where was I going with that? Well, I think what I meant was getting healthier, understanding hormones and how hormones play a part, and almost activating. And I talk about midlife. I talk to midlife women. I'm in my 50s, and I had to reacquaint myself with the proper levels of estrogen, and
Yeah.
it was like, wow. And an interesting thing happened. I was told by this hormone specialist before I started taking them, because I chose a doctor that believes in a little bit higher dose than some others. So not just to suppress the symptoms, but to actually take you back to when you were in your 20s and 30s, the levels you were supposed to be at
Mm-hmm.
and that God meant you to be at.
Mm.
And in doing so, it changed a lot of things. But um, where I was going with that, gosh, I kind of got lost in it because it's kind of a fun topic for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and so I feel like that I have become the person that I was meant to be, and maybe even um, have higher levels than I actually did in my 20s and 30s.
Right.
So we all have varying levels. But one of the things that the hormone coach had said to me, it's coming to me now, is that I said, oh my gosh, I'll gain weight, because she had kind of slipped that in there. You might gain 10 pounds or so. And I was like, whoa. And I said, I'm not going to like that idea. And I did. I gained 15 pounds. And she goes, guess what? You won't care. And I said, well, that's unheard of. Like, what do you mean? And she was right. So what she meant was you'll be more comfortable with yourself. So you
Yeah.
won't be so focused and fixated on, oh my gosh. And so now when I see women fixating on that, I realize they're just not where they're mentally supposed to be, or they're just not comfortable with themselves because there's an imbalance going on and we were
Mm.
fixated on the wrong things. Which reminds me of what you talk about with sexual confidence, making money. They're all connected.
Yeah.
They really are. So if that's happening with how we feel about ourselves, then it's definitely happening in business. It's definitely happening in the bedroom, and we're not even getting close to the connections that we're meant to make and the level of income that we're supposed to get to,
Yeah.
and be comfortable with that. Okay, so
Mhm.
let's talk about feminine energy and wealth creation again. Just like, let's talk a little bit more about that. And can women truly thrive in a masculine dominated world without sacrificing their sensuality? I think you kind of touched on that a little bit. Did you want to touch on it anymore?
Well, I guess I would just like to get rid of this notion of a masculine dominated world and let's all just start stepping into these jobs and demanding equal pay and taking on and believing in ourselves and changing the rules because the way businesses are run right now is not really great. We could do a lot better. If women could run government and run the world, everything would be so much more enriched in so many ways, including financially.
Mm.
So I just think the era of men being in charge has come to an end. It needs to be a level playing field, but ultimately, I think it would be better if women were in charge of most things at this point because they've really fucked it up.
Do you see that we're moving towards that?
Yes,
Okay, good.
100%. Yeah,
Because
we are.
because
Ain't never going back.
there's a lot of talk about the new presidency causing us to go back in time, and I don't see it at all. I see
It's
a
the last gasp of them trying to hold on to the past and hold on to the power. It's over.
Yeah, I feel like that there's enough women that are being put in power positions in this presidency. That's what I feel like. There's enough. I shouldn't say there's enough. There's more, and I think we need to focus on that. And I think women in power it doesn't have to look a certain way. So, okay, enough said about that. A lot of men tie their sense of worth into money and sexual performance. Can we touch on that for a minute? So what's the healthiest way? Because you work with both men and women.
I do.
What's the healthiest way that men can balance ambition, financial success, and have deep connected intimacy?
It's easy. You just work on your career, learn to provide value, um, manage things well, make good decisions, keep your eye focused on your revenue and your salary and income and providing value and do well in your career. And equally understand that you also have to focus on your sexual development. You have to learn skills. You have to understand how the body works, the difference between the male and female body, all of these things. And watching porn is not how you learn that. That's how you learn what to do if men make up what sex looks like, not if women. If you want to be a man who makes love with women, you need to understand what women want.
Do you really think that there's a lot of damage that's being done with porn being so easily accessible? I feel
Massive
like,
amounts of damage.
yeah, and I think it's killing relationships.
Oh, yeah.
There's an addiction component there, right?
There, for some men, there's an addiction component as well. Exactly. Yeah.
And
There's all kinds of problems with it. Yeah.
so do you feel like the, is there an equal amount of men coming to you for help with regard to that as women?
There's no women coming to me with porn addictions.
Well, I didn't
Literally zero.
I didn't necessarily, but I'm glad that you said that because I hadn't thought of that actually. I just meant, are there just as many men coming to you and saying, I would like to get closer to my spouse or my girlfriend or lover as women are?
Yeah. Women are most interested in learning the kinds of orgasmic expansion that I briefly mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
where most men come to me with issues around premature ejaculation, needing to gain ejaculatory choice. And they also come to me because their wives stop wanting them for sex and they feel really abandoned and upset.
Why do you think you
And
see that?
what?
Why do you think she stops coming for sex?
Because he's been having sex with her like she's a dude because that's all he's ever seen. It's not his fault. It's not their fault. They just don't understand how to make love dealing with a male body and a female body together. And that's it. Just once a guy learns some really basic things, it is very easy for him to start having a great sex life with his partner. But she doesn't want, she tends to not want it anymore because it's not that satisfying for her. She doesn't really like it. And a lot of women think it's menopause, but frankly, I mean, I think definitely that
I
when
think it's a
your
combination.
hormones
I think
when
it's
your
a
hormones
combination.
begin to recede, you can have some libido issues, but it's equally nitric oxide production with blood flow to your pelvic bowl. But it's none of those physiologic issues. It's the fact that it's never been good enough to bother keep doing it for them. And they don't they want him, but they don't. They feel like they have to drag themselves to give him mercy sex or he'll be miserable. And I just feel so bad that that's what happens so much of the time. And that's due to a lack of pleasure-based sex education. It's due to the fact that we even still think about sex as intercourse and we'd separate foreplay from sex and people rush through foreplay when all of those things are sex. There's so many things that you can learn and so many experiences that you can have. As a matter of fact, something that I put together about a year ago was there's sex techniques, there's communication skills, there's all these things that you can learn. And I wanted to take it to the next level and say, okay, well, that's great, but how do you create these erotic play dates where you think about your sex life as not just this thing we do that's kind of the same over and over? How do we expand it so that your sex life becomes an erotic adventure with yourself or with your partner, with yourself and your partner? So I put together 48 erotic play dates that couples can essentially create their sex life bucket list. And it's free. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. If you put that in your show notes, that'd be
I
great.
will.
And it's a free thing. And what I did was I created a PDF that you can download and you can print it out and a little video, a 40-minute video where it's your first erotic play date. And I walk you or you and your partner, if you're lucky enough to have a partner, through each of the 48 erotic play dates. And then you mark each one. It has like a little line next to it where you mark it, a little circle, A, B, or C. A is, oh, I definitely want to do this. Let's learn this together. B is, well, I wouldn't be on my bucket list, but if you want to do it, I would totally do that with you. And C is, it's not for me right now. Because never say never. These erotic play dates are not weird. They're not going to make you uncomfortable. They're going to open your eyes to like, wow, I didn't know we could learn all these things. This is really interesting. Because what happens with long-term relationships is that desire is lost because desire is actually a combination of two things, of safety and trust and novelty and variety. And
Mhm.
so most long-term married couples have lots and lots of safety and trust and very little novelty and variety. And so, the spice it up is bringing in new things and learning new things together to co-create that new relationship energy, to reestablish that new relationship energy. You try new things together. So when you have these erotic play dates and now you've got your A list and you merge them, now you've got 10 things that you want to learn together, that you want to try for maybe the first time, or God, we talked about doing that, or we did that once and it was fun, or we did that and it didn't do that well, but I can see there's potential because that's the other thing about sex is when it's like anything, when you're learning something, the first time you make the recipe, it's it's good. You're like, I think I could make this again and I could do a better job.
Mhm.
Same thing. You begin to become a master chef when you've made that recipe and you know exactly how to perfectly crisp that chicken skin,
Have you ever
not
heard the
burn
quote?
the bottom of the pan. So you
Have you ever?
have to be willing to try new things.
You just reminded me of a quote. I think it goes, "Small hinges open big doors,"
Yeah,
like
little
little.
hinges swing big doors.
Yep. So you were on a podcast. You've been on a lot of podcasts, but you were
A
on a podcast
thousand.
with Shalene Johnson.
Yeah, Shailene, I'm doing her conference. I'm speaking at her conference coming up in
Oh, oh, in Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Okay.
are you gonna go?
I don't have it on my calendar yet, but
Oh, I hope
I
you'll
think it's like
go.
real soon.
Yeah, it's
So
April
end of
30th,
April.
May 1st.
Okay. So you have no problem getting really into um, the details
Yeah, I
of
like the
what a
details.
man should do. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, this is something all men should know.
Yeah.
And I heard Dave Asprey say, I'm going to try not to blush, but he said, and I don't know if it's a talk, if it was in a podcast, I don't even know why he was saying it, but he was giving suggestions to men as well that matched what you said. And it's basically spend as much time as you can and just maybe even um, don't ejaculate that time, but just make it all about her. And I'm telling you, if more men did that, they'd
Yeah.
have happy wives,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, there's a real bell curve around male ejaculation. Some men need frequent release, and it's actually very healthy for them.
Right?
Other men, when they release, they literally feel depressed afterward. It drains them. It
Yeah,
drains
that
them of
was so
their
new to me.
chi.
Wow.
And so, this is like anything, you have to do it in moderation and listen to your body and the cycles and moods of your body, the level of health and internal resources you have, etc. When you're drained, why drain yourself some more?
Mhm.
And when you get out of this notion that your job is to penetrate her and ejaculate inside her, and you move from there to, oh, okay, well, whether I ejaculate or not is, neither here nor there. I can ejaculate anytime I want to. So I'm going to stop my focus on that. And I'm going to put my focus on heart connection, pleasure, joy, learning to be a male multiple full body energy orgasm guy or whatever. That's one of the things on the erotic play date is becoming, learning how to have full body energy orgasms as a man so that you can come as much as you want without ejaculating. And you can ejaculate whenever you want to. That's called ejaculatory choice. So it's very interesting that it just switches the focus from I need to get off
Mhm.
to I need to connect in pleasure, whatever
Mhm.
that looks like. And we're going to do all sorts of things together. It just
So I have,
expands.
yes, I just have a suspicion that a lot of men don't do this
No.
and had never, if never even thought about it. I'm not sure. But I think that you could, just that one description that you gave on that podcast could change so many relationships. You're
Oh,
doing a
good.
good thing. You're doing a good thing. So
Thank you.
let's just talk real quick about sex and money. And are those two of the most emotional? I know that they're two of the most emotionally charged words, aren't they? So,
Yes.
or topics. Um, how can couples create harmony with sex and money? Because they say money is money issues are the biggest. I have a hard time believing that, but they've always said that it's money issues lead to divorce, right? So the arguing, I feel like you connect in bed and the rest just happens. What do you think?
I think if you connect in bed, a lot of the money issues become less important.
Yes.
You get less annoyed by your partner, but there's a level of security and your needs being met and, not wanting to struggle and all of those kinds of things. And a lot of people have a core wound around money. A lot of people are triggered by the fact that I say things like, I like to make money. I'm a deal doer. I'm a rainmaker. I'm focused on the revenue. I like to make the income. I like to help other people do it. And people are like, God, she's so greedy, or what, like it's their own filter around their own wound around that. But for me, I love to make money because I like the to be able to help more people, do more things, have bigger impact. So when you start to think about it that way, it's like, oh, I see. It's not really about her. It's about her effect, her positive effect. And I think that helps a lot. But remember, the two places where we're not educated at all are around money and sex.
Mhm. And you know, I'm Generation X, and I just that's not something that we talked about.
No,
We weren't
but
allowed to, and it was kind of like, you know, shh, don't say those words. And so that kind of really doesn't lead to a success in those areas, does it?
no,
If the
no, it's
husband,
damaging.
mhm,
As my friend Emily Morse says, communication is lubrication. And the more that you talk, the more that you get on the same page, the more that you make agreements, you make goals, you divide and conquer, you use each other's talents to full effect, um, that you keep track, that you manage expenditures, that you cut costs where you can. All of these things are really good to do. Same with sex. It's great to learn, to watch videos together, to I have a program called the Steamy Sex Ed video collection. I'll send it to you. And it's really, really good because it's over 200 heart-connected, passionate lovemaking techniques that couples can watch together. Very relatable couples
200. Wow.
demonstrating 200 different techniques. There's oral pleasuring, manual pleasuring, like a genital massage, erotic massage. There's uh, sex positions. There's intercourse strategies. There's oral pleasuring. I think I might have said that. And it's really nice because you're like, oh wow, I would have never thought to do that. Oh my God, that looks good. Will you do that for me? So it begins to give you the kind of information that you can see and you can talk about and you can try on each other. And then you realize, oh, wow, I hardly know anything. I've got a couple things I know how to do, but there's a lot more out there. And then that opens you to realizing, oh, I could really learn a lot more about passionate lovemaking. I want to learn how to do really good bedroom communication. I want to learn pillow talk and sensual talk. I want to learn how to give a yoni massage and a lingam massage. I want to learn how to give oral and receive oral and make it massively orgasmic. I want to try new sex positions. I want to incorporate toys. Once you start going on it and you start trying things, you begin to talk about things. And when you talk about things, that just opens it up more and more. So it's the same answer for both things. We didn't get taught either one. There's shame around both,
Mm,
and the shame is there to control us. And
yes.
I am uncontrollable, Crystal.
I'm a hard one to control as well. So
Why
let's
would you why would you want to be controlled?
Right. So let's talk about dominance because that's kind of where I was going next.
Okay.
So there is this feeling that men that came from a certain era were taught to dominate, and they tend to want to dominate and in these two areas. And so if that's let's talk about that. I know that you have an opinion about it. So if someone feels disconnected from um, their sexual power or stuck around money, do you feel like that comes from possibly somebody having this mentality of domination in their life? I hope I asked that question right. Did you understand what I was trying to say?
Well, I'm going to answer it the way I think.
Okay.
I'm going to answer it the way I think will be beneficial. Yeah, I understood. Don't let anybody put you in a box. We are all things. We are masculine. We are feminine. We are yin. We are yang. We are the sun. We are the moon. We are the multitudes inside us. And when you are thinking you need to be a certain way, that's someone else's programming telling you how you need to act. We can be soft and delicate. We can surrender to our woman, and she can take control and pleasure us, and we can just receive as the man. Equally, as well as the woman can be in receipt or in control or going to switchy or getting to flow. And flow is where all of that disappears, and all you are doing is meeting in bliss and heart connection. And it takes care of itself because now you're out of your mind and you are in your heart and body. You are in sensation, you are in pleasure, you are in love, you are in orgasm, you are in ecstasy. And that pathway is a learned skill. And the more you get there, the easier it is to drop into it. And that just takes practice. So instead of living a life that was prescribed for you by some external entities, cultures, religions, whatever it might be, who are trying to manipulate you, you decide who you are in every single moment and allow yourself to be all the sun and the moon. And I just think you're just caught in a paradigm if you're frustrated around those expectations. And we will love you for everything you show up to be. We want more from you. We want it all. We don't want you acting some role. We want to know the essential you. That's the beautiful you. So express that.
Do you feel like you work with couples more? That was a great answer. I'm kind of blown away,
Thank you.
actually. How well you can articulate all of this, because it's so complicated, but it doesn't have to be. And
Mhm.
calling masculine and feminine, me calling it that in this conversation several times, and you just continually, you've got a pattern going like, Crystal, quit calling it that, and you're doing
Well,
it
it just,
so
yeah, I
gracefully.
mean, I think it feels dated to me now, don't you think? Once you
It,
hear me talking about it differently, it
yeah,
does feel dated,
yeah,
doesn't it?
it goes away when both are doing the dance properly.
Just you be you. I love
Yeah.
everything about you. You can be a badass bitch, and I will love you for that. And you can be the daintiest little feminine, slutty lingerie wearing stripper shoes prancing around cooking me dinner, and I will love that too. Right? I mean, I like to be
Yeah.
all those people.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
men deserve to be all those people too. Maybe not the stripper shoes unless that's what they're really into, but they deserve to be soft and loving and sweet and playful and in that part of themselves. They don't always have to be showing up in this role. So,
But
getting
maybe,
relief from that.
especially if he's a Pisces, that might not even be what he's comfortable with anyway, and he's been forced into that box
Exactly.
by
Yeah.
society. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so how do people come to you, work with you? And I wanted to also ask in there, do couples come to you? Do you work with them?
No.
Both?
I don't work with anyone.
Okay.
No, I do no one-on-ones. I'm not a therapist or a
Okay.
psychologist. I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques. I've published 44 books and programs that teach
Wow.
heart-connected, conscious, passionate lovemaking techniques. And 34 of them are my own books from the last 2 decades, books and programs, and 10 of them are the work of my mentors whose legacies I want to carry on because they are unbelievable. And I don't want their work to get lost. I want it to get carried forward and available to anyone anywhere around the world. So my entire media empire is primarily just digital, audio, video, ebooks, etc. Because you don't have to buy a physical book. That stuff's going away now. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's nice to hold a book in your hands, but it's just all digital and dynamic now. It's dynamic with AI and all of those things. So I don't work with anybody one-on-one. I just do my newsletter at betterlover.com. And I have all the books and programs that anybody wants, but so much of what I do is free. And I do videos. I have a YouTube channel, Better Lover YouTube channel, and that's got hundreds of videos. Go to my websites and use the search box on anything I've said, anything you can think up, and I've probably covered it.
I'm going to put all of that in the show notes. So
Thank you.
listeners, please go and do that and have better sex, because
Yeah,
you only live once, or maybe not.
exactly.
But it's going to make you a better person.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. It's going to make, the more connected we are and the more we're
Yes.
enjoying each other on that level,
Yeah.
the less conflict is going to happen. And that goes for politics, it goes for money, it goes for all of it. And just, I think we just need to come back together and just, so we're looking at the age of Aquarius, right? And this revolution that we're seeing in medical and all these different industries. And it's time for us to come together in the bedroom as well, right? And
Definitely.
so I want to say thank you.
Thank
Um,
you, Crystal. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I was looking forward to it since we met.
Good. And I know that you had a really busy January, February, so I gave you a couple of months there to catch your breath.
Thank you.
But I want to say thank you though for, and this, I don't even care if this sounds cheesy, but thank you for probably changing thousands and thousands of people's lives, which I'm sure that you have in your 44 books. And you're doing something that not very many people can do because it's taboo, right? And it shouldn't be.
I know.
You're going to help bring, or I'm sure you already have, helped save marriages.
Yeah.
Maybe even helped bring more babies into the world. I mean, I could just go on and on. And sex is just as money, or sex is just as important as any other relationship in a marriage, for instance. And I just feel like that this needs to be the wave of the future. And personally, I think porn should go away.
It's not going to go away. So
Well,
all we can do is raise awareness that that is just one male gaze paradigm, and it's created primarily for men to masturbate to. And it has its place, and hopefully men will enjoy it in its place, but also realize that there are ways that you can become an incredible lover with another human being. And that'll
and
be
and maybe
so
I shouldn't
incredible.
have said go away. Maybe that's not even a fair statement. I definitely believe in, freedom of speech. But I'm noticing that states are now putting a protection on that, where it was just so easily findable for our youth. And I feel like that was pretty harmful for our youth to actually come across online. And now I think they've got some laws and restrictions. Just protect what is sacred is the only thing that I really meant by that. So thanks
Yeah,
again.
maybe even just balance it out more. If there's going to be freedom of speech and there's going to be pornography, don't diminish or make it difficult for sex educators to teach heart-connected, passionate lovemaking techniques to balance it out. Don't
Yes.
lump us in with porn. Understand that there are many of us who are teaching the skills that people really need to have the life that they deserve. That's I think, a better way to look at it.
You said
Like,
that.
I don't want to yuck somebody else's yum. I don't need to eradicate pornography. I just want to be the antidote to it.
Mhm. I love that. And I think that's a great place to end. And I hope that you will come back. I would love to
I'd
have you
love to.
back. So Ageless Ambition, it's a membership site, is going to be up and going very soon. And I would love for you to, I'm going to put
Mm.
this in there, and I would love to maybe even do a workshop or a class with you.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. I would
Yeah.
love to do that. And I'd love to talk about female pleasure and how our libido, desire, and arousal are a matrix that work together and completely differently than in male bodies. I could talk about the difference between the male and the female on all three of those axes, and then talk about things like orgasmic activation and cross training and communication skills. And those are some of the fundamentals that I
I'm
think
over here
really help
going,
people.
wow, Susan.
You're so cute,
My
Christy.
favorite topic. Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much, Susan. And everyone, go to the show notes and start digging into our content. It's good stuff. Bye-bye.